Who here knows what the non-aggression principle is? That's what I'd like to see. She's raising her hand too. I think it can be explained with a parable. There was a garden, and there were two gardeners who loved the garden. One wanted to plant roses, and the other one wanted to plant violets. The first gardener said, "Roses, they're the flower of tradition and beauty. We should plant those." And the other gardener said, "Violets, they're creative and diverse. We should plant them." And they began to argue. Roses, violets, roses, violets, roses, 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 violets. And they began to fight. They began tearing up each other's flower beds, tearing up the roses to plant violets and tearing up the violets to plant roses. You see, both gardeners loved the garden, but they loved it because of what they could make it into. They loved it because it was a reflection of themselves and their own egos. And because that was the nature of their love for that garden, they destroyed it. There's someone else who loves the garden. The forest ranger loves the garden and the growing things, not because of what he can make it into, but because of what it already is, and because of what it has it within itself to become. The forest ranger eliminates pests, and he prevents one plant from encroaching on another. But he doesn't tell the trees how tall to grow. He doesn't tell the violets that they need to bloom red, and he doesn't tell the roses that they need to bloom blue. He doesn't uproot one plant to replace it with another. He doesn't accidentally uproot the wheat while trying to get rid of the tares, and he doesn't uproot the tares while trying to get rid of the wheat. And because that is the nature of his love, the whole garden blooms magnificently. This is a fable about politics. The Republican political party and the Democrat political party, they both love America. And that love is real. But they love it because it's a reflection of their own values and their own lifestyles. And Americans find themselves trapped between two gardeners, one who wants to plant only roses and one who wants to plant only violets. America does not belong to a political party, and our backyards are not gardens for politicians to plant their own personal seeds. Now, our political party recognizes that fact. And it's not because it's a newer and better political party. It's not because we've got newer and shinier politicians. It's because every person in this room has recognized the principle that it is always wrong to uproot someone else's flowers in order to plant your own. Can I see a show of hands? We call it the non-aggression principle. It can be said many ways. Agree to disagree. Live and let live. Do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. My favorite way of saying it, the only appropriate use of force is to oppose the inappropriate use of force. We are here in this room to represent this principle to all the gardeners that are out there, that there is room for many kinds of flowers here in America, that there is no flower so bright that it has the right to steal its neighbor's soil, and there is no weed so dim that it doesn't have a claim to its own sunlight. We do not need to remake each other in our own image in order to live together. We can live with fewer regulations, we can live with fewer government spy programs checking up on us, and we can live with fewer politicians trying to force their personal agendas on us. The non-aggression principle means less political infighting. Politicians fight for power. If there's less power, there's less to fight over. If we each have our own garden, you plant the flowers that you want, and I plant the flowers that I want, and there's nothing to argue about. It's when the gardeners try to force us all to plant the same thing that we need to fight about what that one thing is going to be. When the government tells you how to work, what kind of health care program you're going to have, what kind of literature you can read, When the government tells us all of these things, we're going to fight about all of these things all the time. The non-aggression principle stands against that. It says that you don't use the government and you don't use force to try to change someone else's opinion and to change someone else's mind. Now, those who know me well know that I like to talk about economics. This principle applies to economics. An honest business does business by consuming fewer resources to produce a greater benefit for its customers. As the difference between benefit and consumption grows, the company prospers. In order to compete with other companies, it shares that benefit with its customers and with its employees. It benefits all of society by mutual agreement to mutual advantage. It creates a rising wage, it creates a lower cost of living, it creates technological progress, higher quality products and services. This is how business should be done. There's another way of doing business. There's corporate welfare out there, which is a form of aggression against other companies. In our garden, corporate welfare is like a rose bush who hires a lobbyist. And he lobbies the gardener. And he says, I want you to take some of the soil from this other plant and give it to me. I want you to prune back my customers. I want you to cut back my employees. And a business which grows in this way grows not like a rose bush, but like a plague. It creates lower wages. It creates lower quality of living. It creates a stagnant economy in which is filled with companies which have been deemed too big to fail by the politician gardeners who tend them. These principles apply not just to economics, they apply to every aspect of life. A church should not be able to use the government to shut down its competitors any more than a business should. Nor should a charity. Nor should a school. Nor should a human being be allowed to shut down another human being's life using the government. We human beings, we're like gardeners, and we love our flowers. We all have one flower which is special to us. And we get enthusiastic about that flower. And we take every opportunity we can to plant more of them, which is a good thing. It's a good thing. But not when it comes at the expense of someone else's flowers. Excuse me. It's a good thing, but not when it comes at the expense of someone else's flowers. And we look at other flowers and we say, oh, petunias, orchids, those are just weeds. We see a bed of violets, and we say, this bed of violets is so big, nobody will notice if I pull up one or two to plant a rose. And so, it's so easy to plant another rose when you use the government to regulate your neighbor and tell him to plant it for you. It's so easy to plant another violet when you tax your neighbor to make them pay for it. Instead of using our own resources to fight poverty, to improve education, to grow our businesses, to grow our society, we're using other people. And if that's how we vote, then we have accepted the principle that it is okay to break a few eggs in order to make a rose-scented omelet. We start out willing to sacrifice one violet in order to plant a rose, and then it becomes 2 violets, and then 3. And before you know it, we're willing to sacrifice an entire garden that belongs to someone else in order to plant a single rose for ourselves. And we tell ourselves this will benefit the whole community. Everybody knows that roses are the best flower. Nobody needed those violets anyway. And we're completely oblivious to the damage that we've caused to other people and other human beings. But we here in the Libertarian Party, we stand against that. We stand up with anyone. We stand up with the rich. We stand up with the poor. We stand up with the gay. We stand up with straight. We stand up with atheists. We stand up with the faithful. We stand up with everyone and against no one. We say like our mascot, give us your poor, your tired, your huddled masses, yearning to breathe free. We'll give a better quality of life to everyone. We'll allow everyone to plant their own flowers in their own garden. Thank you.